Well, now, let's talk about Don Imus, who has certainly got himself in a mess. I saw him defending himself on the Al Sharpton show, and I'm no fan of Al Sharpton, but that's where he was when I saw this. I heard the story. Of course, you know the story. He called Don Imus, the radio host out of New York City, WFAN, which is run by Westwood Media something or other, and that's related to NBC and CBS. Well, anyhow, Don Imus is a very interesting, smart, funny guy, but you do have to be ready for him to poke fun at anybody, and he pokes fun at everybody. He pokes fun at white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, WASPs, blacks, Jews, Italians. He is an equal opportunity non-discriminator, but just off the cuff, he said something that white people shouldn't say. He referred, nobody should really say it, but white people shouldn't say it for sure. And that was, and he is white, he called the Rutgers women's basketball team nappy-headed hoes. Well, that's not a nice thing to start with. And he doesn't know what their sexual activity level is. And it's just a general put down anyhow. Well, did he get his butt kicked? And he's been taken off the air for 2 weeks for saying that, which is really a big slap in the face. And of course, if those management companies that run his show hadn't done that, there would have been a terrific public outcry. Now, I have a friend, very intelligent friend, and he said he doesn't like Don Imus and he doesn't like Howard Stern. I don't like Howard Stern either. And he said, but they ought to be able to say what they want. He was basically defending the right for people to say things short of, fire in a crowded room. And I wrote back to him, he emailed me that. I said, look, this is how our system works. If you say something that the public doesn't like, the public has the right to get up in arms about it and bring pressure to bear. That's what the benefits of all the sit-ins were. All the freedom riders that went to the South, all of the civil rights demonstrations that have taken place over the years, and and various kinds of demonstrations, women's right to vote. So anyhow, I'm happy that Don Imus is getting his butt kicked. He said something that is absolutely not true. He said, I said a bad thing, but I'm not a bad person. Don Imus is an egotist. He has a personality disorder, and I'm not trying to play doctor, psychiatrist, whatever, but he acts out in a kind of violent disregard. I was actually on his show as a call-in once, and he was so rude to me. There is no point in being that rude. And frankly, I hope this reaches Howard Stern, because that kind of nonsense, the same way Bill O'Reilly is so rude to people at times. Bill O'Reilly is not as bad as Don Imus, but he's still very rude to people and doesn't let people have a proper speech. I think if I ever went in and disagreed with Bill O'Reilly, he'd keep rambling on and making noise, and I'd just have to sit there and let him make noise. I saw that interchange between he and Geraldo, and that was kind of fun to watch. They both had their points. I was basically more on Geraldo's side, who said that the only reason Bill O'Reilly was upset was because he was an immigrant, and it should have been being upset about the crime. And it's not, and that's where Geraldo was right. Well, anyhow, getting back to Don Imus. Don Imus is not a nice person. He can defend himself any way he wants. He's got enough money that he can retire 10 times over, but he does not want to go down in a flame of shame, and that's what he deserves, a flame of shame. I'm not saying he ought to be taken off the air, but he deserves really not only the current apologies and the public contrition, but he deserves to have his butt kicked royally. He was very rude in what he said to President Clinton and his wife when he was the master of ceremonies. There needs to be a little bit of control on that kind of personality so that people don't feel that they have the rights to literally say and behave in such a rude fashion to large numbers of people. Well, there was a similar event where the leader of the House of Democrats, Speaker of the House of Democrats, his name was Jim Wright. And a lot of people didn't like Jim Wright. This is at the federal level. Didn't like Jim Wright. And he had obtained a job for his wife. That's called nepotism. So what they did is they got rid of him because of his hiring his wife. Well, it was sort of okay what she was doing, but everybody screamed bloody murder that this was nepotism and that was improper. He was just being gotten for his past sins. Don Imus is actually being gotten for his past sins and deserves it because he's been one hell of a sinner. All right, now let's talk about Southenol. If you have any questions about Don Imus, call me at the office. I'll be glad to talk to you. Like I said, I was on his show once and he treated me very rudely, and I made some good points which he later bit off and used. It was about Randy Johnson being overpitched. I think the Seattle, it must have been Seattle, baseball team lost.